Despite the very best efforts of the very worst weather, the Trinidad and Tobago Automobile Sports Association brought its 2022 championship season to a conclusion on October the 9th. The Fast Parts Caribbean Circuit Racing Invitational featured the third round of the Radical Caribbean Cup, which showcases the fastest race cars in the region. Race director Debbie Nath deftly juggled the timetable to gain as much track time as possible when windows and the weather allowed. But heavy storms early Sunday morning combined with a yellow alert from the Met Office to mean that spectator attendance was well below normal levels. FIA Formula 3 vice-champion Barbadian Zane Maloney won twice and set new qualifying and race lap records when he joined the regional Radical Series as a non-scoring guest driver. The other race winner, Christian Budusing, gave his home crowd and principal sponsors at the Frankie Boudrin Wallerfield International Raceway much to celebrate, collecting maximum championship points to assume the series lead. Early season leader Guyana's Christian Jeffrey trailed by 15 points by the end of the day, with all to play for in the final 5 weeks later on his home track South Dakota, where he would beat Budustig to the title by just 5 points. Regional champion in 2018, Stuart Maloney of Barbados climbed from 7th to 3rd in the standings at Wallerfield, but was too far behind to challenge for the title. Budusing's performance also propelled Trinidad to the head of the Nations Cup, 8 points ahead of former leader Guyana with Barbados 3rd and Jamaica 4th. But Jeffrey's performance on his home turf in the final round would snatch that from Trinidad too. Maloney, Jeffrey and Budustig were the pace setters whatever the conditions. Maloney's 37.449 second lap in free practice late on Saturday was the fastest ever by a Suzuki-powered Radical SR3 on the 1.4 kilometre circuit.
Racing is what I love.
When qualifying eventually got underway Sunday afternoon, Maloney and Budusing swapped provisional pole position times until Maloney prevailed close to the end of the 15-minute session. His time of 40.196 bettered the previous qualifying record set by his uncle Mark in June 2018, with Budusing, Jeffrey and Stuart Maloney all within 1 second. Making his debut in the RCC, Trinidad's Zachary Boudrin was in 4 thousandths of Stuart Maloney's time, but his best lap was disallowed as his car was underweight, which dropped him to 8th. As the record grid of 13 cars surged forward for the first race, Budusing made a stunning start to beat pole sitter Maloney to turn 1, heading the F3 racer across the line at the end of the opening lap. Maloney was soon passed, however, and eased away to win by just over 7 seconds, the biggest winning margin of the day. Budusing was second, and Stuart Maloney third, having come off best in a three-way battle with his brother Mark and Christian Jeffrey. Despite scoring just 1 point for 10th place, Jamaica's Senna Somerville was still clinging on to third in the standings. His day had started badly when he slid off into the barriers at the hairpin in a wet practice session. The bodywork repairs resulting in him missing qualifying and having to start at the back. 2 sixth-place finishes in the later races proved to be valuable damage limitation, as he only slipped to 5th in the points by the end of the day. Sean Maloney, who had been the highest-placed Barbadian ahead of round 3, replaced Zane on pole position on the reverse grid for the second race. Only the top 6 in qualifying were switched, hoping to make up for a mid-race spin that dropped him to 9th in the first outing. It was not to be, however, as the first lap lead turned into a retirement with an electrical problem which could not be diagnosed in time for the third race. Budusing assumed a lead he was not to lose, despite a string of fastest laps bringing Zane Maloney to within 2.3 seconds at the flag, while title rival Jeffrey suffered his worst result of the season. He finished 8th after an early tangle with Suleiman Issouf left him with damaged steering and Issouf out of the race. Mark Maloney finished 3rd ahead of son Justin and brother Stuart, 3 seconds spread across the family trio at the flag. Based on points allocated for the first 2 races, Zane Maloney was on pole for the final, although his points would be ignored as far as the championship standings were concerned. Budusing, Stewart and Mark Maloney were next, with Jeffrey fifth, eager for a decent score, having now slipped from the series lead. Despite another staring start from Budusing, the pole sitter took the lead, although the local driver kept with him just over 2 seconds adrift at the flag. A great battle raged behind, Jeffrey shaking off Justin and Mark Maloney, but finding Stuart Maloney more of a problem. The pair ran in close formation lap after lap, Jeffrey getting ahead briefly on lap 5, then again 2 laps from home, but on lap 14 they came up on a back marker at the end of the main straight, who inadvertently settled the battle in Maloney's favour. The day had started ominously with a red flag in the opening race, which combined the entries for Tatasa Groups 1 and 2, as there were no fewer than 3 incidents on the still damp track within 2 laps. First, Mark Williams slid off approaching the bottom corner hairpin, followed by a rather more spectacular rolling departure for Aaron Arkin. Their 2 Honda Civics stranded within 100 yards of one another. Michael Phillips also attacked the tyre wall exiting the S's in his Miata, although he continued. With that first race cancelled, thankfully with no injuries, the second outing started from the original qualifying-based grid and produced wins for the Civics of Christian Budusing in Group 2 and Brandon Singh in Group 1. With the timetable back on track later, the groups were split. The Group 1 field producing one of the absolute crackers of the day, as first race winner Singh and Justin Sanguinet fought for supremacy door-to-door and wheel-to-wheel in a fine display of clean racing, the former prevailing by just 0.3 of a second. Group 2 was less thrilling, producing a dominant victory for Budusing over Bridget Singh and Amir Mohammed. In Group 4, the race 1, there were no fewer than 3 local drivers. Faisal Madan finished third, problems of the very worst weather, allowing Zachary Boudram an easy victory in the team Speedway Renault Megane. A repeat looked less likely in race 2 as Mark Maloney had brought his popular Mazda RX-3 from Barbados, a car which has beaten Zachary's father Franklin in the Megane before. Sure enough, the black Mazda seemed headed for an easy win until mechanical issues 2 laps from home brought it to a halt on the main straight. Faisal Madan speared off into the tyre wall just before the hairpin, fortunately with no injury to the Tatasa vice president, Boudram taking the win. Maloney's pit crew cured the RX-3 in time for a race 3 win, however, followed by the now customary donuts. The Caribbean Spec Miata series produced 3 exciting races with 0-to-hero charges through the field in the first 2. To be fair to Justin Waltman, his was more of a hero-to-zero-to-hero performance in race 1, as he plunged from pole position to 10th on the first lap, so had some work to do. An impressive drive saw him finish 3rd behind Father Ronald and Christian Bourne up from 7th, the trio covered by just 1.7 seconds. The man to watch in the second race was Brian Perot, who charged through from 13th on the grid to finish 2nd to Justin Waltman, with Bourne again on form rising from 9th to 3rd. Justin Waltman claimed another win in the final race, with Perot again 2nd, up from 6th on the grid this time, and Bourne picking up a 3rd podium. Sean Shersing topped 2 of the 3 time attack sessions in his Porsche GT3 RS, with Zachary Boudram fastest in the final group of the day in his Group 4 Renault Megane. Rossi Joseph won the only bike outing of the day. Earlier in the day, a minute's silence had been observed to mark the passing since Tatas's last race meeting of Salim Dean and Jamal Thompson, competitors on 4 and 2 wheels respectively. This year there are 2 rounds of the RCC at Wallerfield for the first time, so come join us for more regional rivalry. And there's lots more racing action to come all year in Trinidad, so keep your eye out.
It was an awesome race meet. I thought the organization was excellent.
Well, good event. It's just that you ain't only back in the early part of the day, but
Sauce.